What's up, YouTube? Basically, this is a recording of me doing a temp fade. For those who are still having trouble doing temp fades, it's basically the simplest haircut, like in my arsenal or whatever. But sometimes it's very easy to overcomplicate it or whatever. And I've noticed, like, over the years, sometimes that happens because some people try to apply the techniques they use for like a ball fade or like a shadow fade to a temp fade, but what they fail to realize is like you're working in a limited space. So you pretty much have to shrink everything, and this is where the freehand technique is the most important. And yeah, man, this was basically me confirming if he wanted sideburns or not, and that pretty much determines like where I'm gonna position my temp fade or my fade or whatever. So this is my Andes Masters. I have them all the way closed. Typically, when I do like ball temps or ball fades, and I suggest for beginners, like I just start with whatever clipper I'm comfortable using, and to perform my fades. So I took my Andes Masters and I closed it all the way, and I set my first guideline. As you can see here, like I said, I'm using the freehand technique, and I'm just kind of eyeballing everything to see where I want everything to be placed. And as you can also notice, when I start, I try to keep everything symmetrical. So whatever I do on one side, I do on the other. And depending on how I'm feeling or what's going on, like sometimes I will, I'll jump back and forth from side to side. Sometimes I'll start in the back and go ahead and fade that all the way out. And then once I get a feel for where I have um, my fade or where I want my fade to be, I would probably knock out one side and then go and knock out the other. This is basically my one guard is closed, and I'm just cleaning out a lot of that bulk that's in that area to where I can see the transition. This is a two guard, and I was, along the same lines. I'm just basically removing bulk and ensuring that my transition goes from, bald to whatever amount of hair that they have left. So typically, temp fades with afros or things that with longer hair are a little bit more difficult because it's trying to find the balance between the short and the long and how you're going to get that transition to be real smooth. But yeah, it's just a matter of understanding what you want your temp fade to look like and understanding that there's multiple different variations of it. Some people like high temp fades, some people like low temp fades, some people don't like it to be that drastic. They just basically want the sideburns to be tamed. But and with temp fades, like it'll be hard to see until you actually put a line on it. So I suggest for a lot of people who are just starting, like if you're gonna do a temp fade and it's hard for you to see it, go ahead and line it up first. Like just go ahead and outline it so you can get an idea of where you want your lines to be and what lines you actually want to be present in the final result. Now I'm just fading up the back, and I'm doing a mixture of, flicking out and freehanding to get the overall shape that I want. at this part, I'm basically just going from greater to less. I started with the 2 and I went with the grain. Then I went down to like a 1.5. And basically all I'm trying to do is just lay that hair back down to make and ensure that I have a very, very smooth transition. And yeah, I've seen a lot of people who do temp fades on afros or whatever, and then the transition from short to long is not really that good, you know. And once it starts to grow out, that's when you can tell exactly what that barber did or whatever. And then that's just not my style. So, like I said, it's a matter of getting an understanding of what the client wants and how they want it to look, and then you just being an artist and creating what you feel suits that customer or whatever. So here I'm just basically doing the outline, and for whatever reason, it happened once, long, long time ago. I used to start like my edge ups and my lineups in the front, and then on one client, it was just one client. I actually forgot to like line one side of the neck. So ever since that day, I just started. That's where I start. I start in the back. I line the back first, and then I'll go to the sideburns, and then I'll do the front. That's just to help myself go through the flow and not forget certain details or whatever. But like I said, it only happened once, and it was when I was first starting. Also, another important thing to remember is you want to keep everybody's hairline as natural as possible unless they request you do otherwise. So with this young man and his other brothers or whatever, they have what I call like really, really short pillars. So I've seen barbers sometimes they'll go in and in order to make it look more like, I don't even want to say traditional, but to make it look more like common, they'll go in and they'll extend those vertical bars or whatever, and they'll end up pushing into the natural hairline way too much. So just be mindful of the people's natural hairline, and then have an understanding of if it's okay with them for you to go ahead and like cut into that stuff. But for the most part, man, you just want to, you know, ensure that you're staying outside of that. And it's possible to get sharp lines by using the natural hairline. Like, you don't have to cut into it. Now I'm just going through and trying to get most of the loose ends off. He didn't really want any cut off the top, and that's usually the case with people who get temp fades nowadays. It's kind of like the trend or whatever. But I'm basically going to use my long shears. They got like a slight curve in it, and I'm just going to go around his head and get the split ends that kind of stick out off. But yeah, the rest of the video is pretty much me, doing detail work and cleaning up little things that I might have missed. If you made it this far, man, I appreciate you for watching. If you can, like, subscribe. If If you have anything that you might want me to demo in the future or any technique that you're struggling with, just drop it in the comments, man. I'm gonna do my best to try to get a video put together and upload for you. But yeah, man, like I tell my students on a day-to-day basis, you get out what you put into it. So just understand that nobody's perfect and repetition is key.